Well folks, welcome to Picking Antiques. I thought we'd just do a little bit about pocket knives in this particular episode. So we've been rummaging around on the car boot sales and we've found some various pocket knives. Examples like this, for example. These have Kirinite handles. Kirinite is it's like an early plastic, so you're probably looking at from about the 30s to the 50s, something like that. And the handles of these knives are put together with brass rivets. So if you note that, because knives that are pre-war usually have brass construction. If you look at them, I don't think it's a hard and fast rule, but it's a good way of looking at it. This particular knife is marked CK, and it's also marked foreign, so it was made abroad somewhere. And as you can see, it does have some poor condition. Cracks here, for example, and the rivet's got quite a lot of spacings on it. So you pick that up for £1 or so, and a knife like that will probably sell for a little bit more than £1. So here another one as a good example is what you've got to watch for is when the mother of pearl is actually cracked here, so that reduces the value considerably. And you can also see from this has been a well used knife. The blade is not quite the right shape anymore. And if you look inside there, you can see just there where my thumb is, one of the blades is broken off. So look out for that kind of thing when you're buying these kind of knives. Okay, so another type of knife to look for are these. These are mid-century to present day, really. If they've got a bit of patina to them, they're probably last century. 80s, 90s. They're probably made in China, but they are pretty strong and robust, and they make a good fishing knife. And if you had to buy that in a shop, you'd probably still pay £20, or very close to £20. Or a mail order company, with all the postage and so that's a pretty sturdy, quite a nice quality knife, but it's not branded. So obviously when you buying and selling antiques and vintage, you're looking for quality, and you're looking for branding, and you're looking for things that are going to reuse in the present day, and these certainly have. And that's a very large fishing knife. It's not particularly sharp, probably never has been in fact. But that's quite a nice old penknife. Now, one of the things to look out for are advertising knives, and you see these quite a lot, and some of them are quite old, like this one. This is probably early 1900, and it's got a pretty nice quality blade on it, typical Sheffield steel, and that is quite a nice one, and it's also got a corkscrew on it, which is quite a big corkscrew too. So this may well have been sold as a vintner's accessory when it was first made. TK valve knife. This is very similar to a lot of knives like the double diamond advertising knife. I don't know if you remember the advertisements. Double diamond works wonders. But essentially you've got the strike face there. When smoking was still PC, people used to strike their matches on these knives. And this is quite a nice quality stainless steel, actually. In actual fact, it's also made in Sheffield. And this dates to around about the 1970s to the 80s, something like that. And again, people do collect these. They're interested in advertising knives. So lastly, this is quite a rare one. You don't really find these very often, and people can, I wouldn't say always, but they can pay quite a lot of money for these. This is a Swedish sugar beet advertising knife for a seed company, and they're quite rare. These you do see them, but you don't see them very often, and that's why it says hilleshog on it. But it's also quite a rare knife in another respect, in that if you look inside it and look at the details here, This is actually steel that was made in France. So you very often see the companies that make the Swiss Army knives, which are made in the blades are made in Germany, in an area which is well known for making steel. We've got some knives coming up that are made in Germany too, or they're made in Sheffield, but you don't often see steel made in France, and that also makes it just a little bit more interesting, a little bit rarer for collectors. So that's another advertising knife which to look out for. If you see one of those, they are quite rare. Another thing you see a lot on car boot sales are pipe cleaners, and there are an awful lot of these around. Most of them are pretty cheap looking. They were probably pretty cheap to buy originally. This particular one is pretty high quality. If you look closely at the quality of the way this is made and the way it fits together rather nicely, the handle looks a bit strange, but with the black spotches you might think that's oil or something, but actually it's not. That is a walnut handle, and it's a Burr walnut handle as well, which is quite nice. And this says Rostefrei on it, which means that it was made in a particular area of Germany, which is well known for making steel, and pretty good quality steel too. So this piece on the end here, this is for tamping your pipe, and these blades here are for cleaning your pipe out. The thin one obviously is for getting into the tubes of the pipe, and this wider one here is for cleaning out the tobacco area, and that's a very nice, actually high quality. That would have cost quite a lot of money, and it's when it was originally purchased. Okay, some of the other knives that I've been able to pick up. This is typical German steel. It's a very nice quality mother of pearl handle. There are no cracks in it. It's absolutely superb. And if you look on the blade, you will see there's a little bug symbol, which is one of the maker's marks of the German steelworks. I think it's that one there, look, if I'm rightly. Yeah, it's just on the bottom of the blade there. And that knife is in, despite the bit of scarring here and there, that can easily be rubbed off and polished if you really want to do that. That actually is in very good condition. It's quite nice and sharp. The blade appears to be decent quality steel, and that's another thing you need to look for when you're trying to buy this kind of knife. Okay, this is a very typical of early 1900, sort of 1910s to 1930s mini penknife. It has two blades, they're both intact. They do often jam up, but they're easy to free up. And you note that it's got brass rivets, and it's got mother of pearl ingot across the handle there. Okay, this here, this is another example of German steel, and if you look at it, you can actually see there's like a whale symbol, which is one of the maker's marks of the German steelworks. And if you look at the other side, it actually says it's German steel on the other side. Feel the quality of the steel though, it's very sharp, and it's a very nice quality knife. Handle's made of Kirinite with brass rivets, which again dates it to first half of 1900 roughly. Knives in the 60s and 70s were quite different looking to this, so you can sort of tell that that's where it came from. Whether it was wartime period, I don't know, probably not. Wartime knives tend to look a little bit different. Okay, so lastly we got this one here. Now this has, the marks are difficult to see, but it says 6 Norfolk Street. Norfolk Street is the location of Rodgers Cutlers. And Rodgers are cutlers to the King and the Queen today, and they're a very, very high quality steelworks which make superb high quality cutlery. And you can see there it says oil the joints, but it also says Rodgers Cutlers to His Majesty on the base of the blade. And on the other side, I forget what it says on the other side. Oh yeah, it's got the address on 6 Norfolk Street, which you can just see there. And so that probably is quite a special knife for a collector, because it's got all of the things that you want from a typical product collection. It's got quality. It's got the maker's marks of somebody with a royal warrant, which is and also quite a renowned maker, which is quite good. And if you look at the knife overall, the general quality of construction is really, really good on this knife. It is absolutely superb. So that's a nice knife to own if you're a collector. So that's the kind of thing that's worth looking out for. There's one more knife that we want to show in this version of Picking Antiques, and that's this. We picked this up. This is an Oates knife. You can see it says there, look, Albert Oates. And this is called the, I think it's the Sultan, is it? Or the Sheldon or the Sultan, something like that. And this is a typical Oates pattern knife. Very, very strongly made. And this particular knife is very close to the American tradition of sort of what would you call it? What's the name for it? Artisan. That's the word. Yeah, artisan knife making that you see in the United States today. Now, Albert Oates actually started somewhere around 1825. They stopped making things in 1962. And they made a lot of very, very good, high quality, solid knives for fishermen and rope makers and people like that. So that's quite a historic piece. This handle is composite, so I don't think this is pre-war. It's not pre-World War II anyway. I think this is like a 50s or 60s knife. But Albert Oates made knives for a long time, and the quality of it, I have seen several other examples of Albert Oates knives, and they are pretty similar to this. So this is not curved because it's worn. This actually is supposed to look like that. So that's a nice example of a historic penknife. One last thing I just wanted to show you actually was this is the Rodgers Cutlers knife. So on the Rodgers Cutlers knife there's a star and a Maltese cross symbol. Now that hallmark dates to about 1680, and it wasn't Rodgers originally. Rodgers actually rented it for a while, and they registered that hallmark, well, it's not a hallmark, it's a stamp. They registered that trademark in 1762, I think. So that's kind of when Rodgers started, and they're using a stamp mark from 1762 to make knives in, this was probably 1930 or something, this one. So that knife really has got a piece of history to it, so that's really nice. Anyway folks, that brings us to the end of this little episode of Picky Antiques. Thanks very much for watching.